Alright, I think the video is getting started. I'm just going to talk as soon as it starts because I'm not editing this video. I'm just going to put it straight on YouTube. Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to the overview of the live letter number 27. Apologies for the quality of the camera and the quality of the video in general. I am over in San Antonio, Texas at PAX South, and just using a little tiny computer right here with a little built-in camera, so just want to get the job done because I got a busy day ahead of me after this. So thank you again, Marco, for doing the translation because I was in San Antonio. On top of that, he stepped it up a notch and streamed from his own channel for the first time for the actual translation. So thank you, Marco. Of course, everyone appreciates you for doing the translations like you always do, man. So looking forward to the next one, but first, let's talk a little bit about this one. And I think this may be the shortest live letter video that I ever do. The main reason being is that they mostly took part 2 to elaborate on the things they talked about in part 1, because this was the live letter for 3.2 part 2. And they, like I said, mostly just elaborated, showed some video footage. Obviously, not going to be able to edit any of that in. So a lot of it's just going to be, yeah, they talked about this last live letter, or, you know, this is what they added on after last live letter. I mean, they started with the dummy trial footage. So, you know, how they're adding the dummies that, you know, you have 3 minutes to kill the dummy to determine if you have enough DPS in order to do certain fights. They showcased him doing that. I don't know what trial it was for, but he did it successfully. He messed up his rotation a few times as a black mage, but they also displayed a new thing about the recast timers. We'll talk about that a little bit more in detail later, however. So we got started right away with the title of patch 3.2, the Gears of Change, and then the release date is pretty much right on the money. Where I guess it was February 23rd. I knew it was going to be the last Tuesday of February. Like I don't know what Sly was thinking. It's always going to be the farthest date from what you think it's going to be. I'm used to that by now. So February 23rd is going to be Gears of Change. And then they went over all of the content and showed some video footage. If a lot of this has been mentioned before, I'm not going to re-mention some of the specifics. But there was a little bit more elaboration on this stuff, except for the Hall of Novice. They really didn't talk about the Hall of Novice. They talked about Stone Sky C, I believe it is, which is the dummy trial. And they talked about how it's the 3-minute challenges. There's a lot of different difficulties. You can even select what fight you really want to be training for. Like, do I have enough DPS for this fight in theory on the striking dummy? And it's a solo-only challenge. It's designed for people looking for different levels of content, just to really understand if you're there, if you're ready. And if you can prove to other people you are ready, at least DPS-wise, in order to do a fight, which is actually a pretty efficient way. I didn't expect it to be that elaborate. I figured it would just be a dummy 3 minutes, and there would be 3 difficulties. So I was pretty impressed to see that they had it designed for individual fights. Now, they have tank ones and they have DPS ones. They're not 100% sure if they're going to do healing checks yet. I would really like to. The only concern I'd imagine is if you're doing a healing check for a specific fight, you're basically practicing the mechanics. And I don't know if that's the reason they don't want to do it. That's the only reason I can really think of, if they're like just you see the mechanics and the other ones don't have mechanics ahead of time. So I think it's doable. I think it's doable to have 7 training dummies that are friendly, that can be healed. I think that would actually be a pretty good idea. But hopefully that's something they decide to do in the future if they don't decide to do it in 3.2. It's still on the fence a little bit. We finally got confirmation on tank damage calculations, and it's pretty much exactly as we were guessing. As Yoshi P said, you guys probably already know what it is, and we're like, no, we don't. We just think it's this, and yeah, it ended up being that. So Vitality is actually going to provide physical attack for tanks from now on. Its strength will too, but strength, it's going to have its numbers reduced. So Vitality is going to fit nicely into the calculations. What I'm assuming is that if you look at gear now, how much strength it has versus how much vitality it has, if that ratio stays the same, I'd imagine that's going to equal what all that strength is giving you in the first place. All we know is the impact of strength was reduced, and that impact is going to be changed in 3.2. We also got confirmation on some job buffs. We don't know what the buffs themselves are going to be yet, but Paladin, they said they are definitely going to be doing something about their odes, and when they change odes, I'm hoping that means they don't break combo, or if there's any other change they might be making as well. But there's also going to be adjustments to astrologians, their means of drawing cards. Enmity generation was another thing that was spoken about. They spoke about it right after astrologian and drawing cards, so I'm assuming they didn't just mean general enmity generation, they meant Astro's enmity generation, which is one of their legitimate issues. They don't have something like Shroud of Saints, and they still generate a lot of aggro. So that's going to be a thing. And Machinist is going to be getting adjustments to their sustained DPS. So there are going to be some buffs for some of the jobs that I've been talking about recently that I feel like they aren't bad. It's just that, people look at the job that is technically better than it, and I put that in quotes, and they just kind of frown upon it. And it's good because I'm tired of seeing people exclude Astros and Machinists and Paladins from content that they can already do just because of, what the community has to say about them. So it's been annoying. Limit break adjustments, rate at which it will fill. That's all they told us. They didn't give us any more details. So it's changing a little bit more again, I guess. I wonder what it's going to be. I wonder why they're adjusting it again when they just adjusted it recently. And then this is where they go into all the content that we kind of knew was coming, other than the Hall of Novice, which didn't get mentioned here. Nath Beast Tribe dailies, they're going to be buffing the EXP from Beast Tribe dailies. They also showed off the mount, which looks like a giant bug and insect. It wasn't just a Cobwalker remake, which is what I thought it was going to be on a beetle, unfortunately. And they also showed off Gamera. I mean, the flying turtle mount. It is Gamera. He's got fire coming out of the 4 holes in the shell, and he spins around, and you spin on top of him. So I don't know how you're not going to puke, but we'll see what happens. The Feast is going to be coming. It's a new PvP mode. Now, we did learn a few things I honestly expected. Some people were kind of hoping they maybe or maybe not would have done some of these things. The item level sync is Ayyy 150. Now, they weren't clear if this item level sync was available in the ranked mode. So I don't know if PvP gear is still worth it stat-wise. Obviously, morale is an increase in item level efficiency, but I'm hoping that item level sync doesn't apply to the ranked queue. It makes it seem like it does here. So for now, I'm assuming that it does. 4v4 and 8v8 do have forced compositions. 1 tank, 1 melee, 1 range, 1 healer, and for 8v8, double all that. And you can only use those party compositions. So they're trying to keep the odds against each other somewhat even. Obviously, different ranged jobs, Bard, Summoner, Black Mage, and Machinist all bring different things. Different melees bring different things. And there's only 3 melees to choose from versus 4 ranged. So it's not going to be as varied. We'll see what ends up happening with that. They redescribed, the 8v8s and the 4v4s, the 5 different queues that there are. They re-explained that there's going to be a rating system for solo queue and light party rating. They better explain the rules of the feast. Everyone's going to start with 100 medals, and when you kill someone, they can drop anywhere from a few to a lot of medals, and then you have to have your party members pick the medals up off their corpse. So the thing is, the more medals that you carry, it's actually going to affect the flow of combat a little bit, because there's debuffs and buffs that can happen on the field that change the dynamic of the game, and we're going to be getting into that in a second here. The new PvP elements now, adrenaline rushes in it. Those are the personal limit breaks that you had from Seal Rock and from Slaughter. But supply boxes, culling time, and heavy metal are going to be 3 new elements that you'll encounter inside of the Wolf's Den 2, also known as the Feast. So supply boxes are the first one. They're items they're going to drop on the field. You break the supply boxes, and then you get different kits. There's an offensive kit. There's a defensive kit. There's a medical kit, and then there's a kit that just gives you adrenaline, so you can LB more often. There's the culling time, which is basically a certain point in the match where players are just going to keep getting debuff after debuff after debuff, and until you die. When you die, the debuffs are removed, but it's just a time where they want to make sure it's time for people to start going down. You know what I'm talking about? And then there's heavy metal. This is something that persists throughout the entire game, and it's just that the more medals you have, the more damage you take. So it sounds like it's smart to probably let your tank pick up a certain amount of medals, and I'm sure people will figure that out. You probably want your healer picking up the least medals, and you want your DPS picking up medals second. But that's the big thing, is just too many medals means it's easier to die. So you have to be very careful about who's actually picking up the medals. If you're having the same person pick them up too often, it's going to end bad for you. So spread it out, and you should be okay, which is nice. It's a little bit more of a dynamic about protecting the person that you want to go get the medals, and also making sure if you're going to give them the medals that you are properly protecting them and making sure they're going to survive the match with the medals that they have. So KDA, they're going to be displaying your kill death and assist ratio. Some people just do KD. We're doing kill deaths and assists. So that's going to be nice at the end of a match. And they also are going to have tiers of rankings. Now, any of you who have played League of Legends, you know the way that it works. It's really anything, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond, and they said there were 6 tiers. I don't know if there's a tier before bronze for like unranked, or if there's a tier after diamond, like a master tier or a challenger tier. But those were the only 5 tiers that they labeled was bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. Very standard in any game that uses an ELO matchmaking system to have those kind of things. And you also have qualifier matches. If you're bronze, you want to go up to silver. You do need to win your qualifiers. Silver to gold, same deal, and all the way up. There's also going to be PvP rank and KDAs and all the statistics posted on the lodestone for each season. So seasons are a thing that, again, you probably know about if you've done PvP before in any other game. and basically it's your ranking is reset every so often. We're not going to start our Season 1 for PvP until 3.25. 3.21 is going to start preseason, so they can use it to make any adjustments before the official PvP season begins. And then from 3.25 to 3.35, it's going to be Season 1, and that's about 3.5 months, which can give you a little bit of a rough idea of when 3.3 is going to be, so you should already be excited, because 3.25 is 5 weeks after 3.2 begins, so a lot of time. And plenty of time to enjoy it after the raid. So if you're someone like me who's going into the raids early and is going to have as much time to enjoy the feast, you will still be able to compete in Season 1 and actually have some time in preseason. So definitely a good thing to show. And there's also new PvP gear, and some of it you can only get by being Diamond rating. So the people who are higher up in the PvP, who are hardcore about their PvP, you should feel satisfaction when you get to the Diamond ranking. Whether that's because you're getting unique seasonal rewards, which are going to be a thing for the top players. There's like the top three players in every data center are going to get special rewards. But even if you're just Diamond, getting that extra PvP gear is going to be pretty cool. And you're going to stand out in a crowd. And I know that's something a lot of PvP players enjoy, is the recognition of their fellow man. So you definitely are going to get that. Don't worry. I don't think I'm going to make it to Diamond. But for those of you who will, I have faith you're going to enjoy it, because the armor looks pretty cool. Then from this point on, it really is just, there isn't much to say. Dungeons, they showed the anti-tower and the Lost City. They showed video of it. You should definitely try to find that video. I'm sure it's on Reddit somewhere already. So just go there, and you should be able to find it. The Raid, Midas, Savage are going to be implemented at the same time. We already knew this. The loot system for normal and Savage are going to remain exactly the same. And then they showed inside of Alexander. The inside of the new Alexander at first, it kind of matched my expectations, where it was like, it looks almost exactly like the other hand, because I was like, these are just two arms. How different could they look? And then you start going in, you see a few differences in 1. You start seeing a lot more differences in 2. Then when they got to 3, it was like, what is this? Holy moly. It was completely different when they got to the 3rd raid. And then when they got to the final one, they didn't show us much, but it looked very similar in design to the Burden of the Father on the first side. So I'm wondering if it's really that much different. I'm sure there's not going to be a manipulator. Please don't let there be unless it's a completely different manipulator who walks around and he's frolicking all about, and I don't know. But even that, I don't want to see that guy again. So please don't do it. We'll see what happens, though. I still think we're going to fight a certain goblin on that floor. We'll see, though. They also talked about materia changes. That was a big thing. Main stat melding. This is, again, stuff we covered last live letter. Main stat melding will only function on non-forbidden melds. Melding will be available to new types of equipment, such as raid gear, and their grade 4 and 5 materia is going to be easier to get because of the diadem. The orchestrion they described a little bit more, which is a little strange. It's a furnishing that can change the background music of your house, in case you didn't know. There's sheet music you can get from dungeons, raids. They showed us a preview, and one really odd thing was that the music itself comes from the orchestrion. It doesn't actually change the background music altogether. So the farther you are away from the orchestrion, the less you hear. So I don't know why they did that, but then they had to joke around about adding speakers. I'm just like, why don't you just make it play the same volume, throw it all through? I understand that it's cool to have the idea of like you're walking away from the jukebox and it's like it's getting quieter. Oh man, that's such a neat effect. Except for the fact that what if I don't want to be standing near the orchestrion when I'm listening to the background music? So I don't know what the idea of speakers is. It's like it's surround sound in the Eorzea. Like I don't know. Maybe you can make a sweet party room with it. The user interface for the orchestrion actually tells you how to obtain every piece of sheet music, as well as lets you preview it before you actually start playing it. So it's definitely good. They said the drop rates on pieces or materials that are needed to make them, because some need to be crafted, they're decent. So don't expect it to be like ponies. You should actually see the item pretty often. So the collections are individual also. So you can collect something, your friend can collect them. I'm sure there'll be achievements for collecting enough orchestrion songs, and there's going to be new music in every patch. So definitely be sure to check that out, including the 3.2 music. When the orchestrion launches, 3.2 music will be on it. So if you really like the new Alexander song, whatever it may be, or you really like the new Anti-Tower or Lost City, or you want to listen to the Atma weapon theme for the Fiend of the Warring Triad, you can do that. So I'm just getting you riled up a little bit here. The mentor system, this was strange. So the mentor system, in case you've never played another MMO before, is just a way for more experienced players to help beginners. It's standard, and it can only be done after reaching certain achievements for crafting, gathering, and combat. Now, the achievements for the Mentor of Disciple of War of Magic, you first of all need at least one level 60 of Disciple of War of Magic. But then the requirements are 1,000 dungeons or trials or 300 or more commendations, which is like, that's a really odd like thing because almost everyone who's been playing, whether they're like a really awesome player or they're like like your casual player that's been playing since it relaunched, odds are they've done 1,000, excuse me, dungeons or trials at this point. Like so, a lot of people are going to qualify for mentor. I guess the 300 or more commendations is supposed to be the one that off puts it. We'll see because I know a lot of people with over 300 commendations, and I'm curious exactly how it's going to, determine if the play. Like, I just don't want players that are like complete trolls to be able to get a hold of this, and a lot of them are already meet these conditions. So it's going to be interesting seeing how it plays out. But we knew that was going to happen. There's always going to be abuse cases for every feature in every MMO. So it is what it is. Mentors of the Disciple of Hand or Land. This one I don't even know if I've done. Level 60 crafter or gatherer, and you either have to craft 100 collectibles or gather over 300 collectibles. I think I've done over 300 collectibles. So yay, I can be a mentor on both because I've definitely done 1,000 trials. There's also a new chat channel, so mentors and beginners can get together and talk. There's also the new mentor roulette, which will just match a beginner and a mentor up in a duty, and it will allow you to show them how to do certain things, help them with content. No tombstone rewards for the mentor roulette, but there are achievements, there are glamour, so if you are someone who qualifies, it should be worth it for you. The only thing that won't be in the roulette are the raids. So don't expect to take anybody into like A4 Savage and be like, "I'm your mentor. Here's how you do it." that would be something. I gotta admit that would be pretty impressive. Impressive? Yeah. Sorry, I'm tired. So the new Primal, there's not much more to say about this. The Fiend from the Warring Triad, the Atma weapon music from Final Fantasy VI plays during the fight, so that's real cool. Now this is not part of the main story. It is not a side story. The normal. Oh, okay. So we had to go back and change things. I see this because I went to sleep like as soon as we got halfway through. So it looks like Marco went back and fixed it. So he is part of the main story, the normal difficulty primal, which is odd because they said they didn't want to do that. The thing is, you don't need to beat the normal difficulty primal to do the extreme. So if you don't want to do the story and you want to jump right into extreme fiend, you can do that. You just have to you just have to make sure you've been a part of the Warring Triad, the Gods of Eld side story quests, and you should be able to get in on this. They showed the weapons and they showed some of the new Alexander gear before moving us on to the diadem. Now, I feel like they didn't detail these changes well enough in the live letter. This is something I feel like they could have spent more time doing. So they're going to change the time limit on the diadem. It's going to be reduced based on your difficulty. Easy now only has 30 minutes in order to complete whatever they're completing. Normal only has 45 minutes. Hard mode only has 60 minutes. So you'll spend less time on the diadem, so it's not as much of a grind. Also, they're reducing the re-entering time limit to 30 minutes down from 45 minutes. There's ether current changes too. It's going to be easier to get the currents. Easy mode only needs 1 current, normal mode only needs 2, and hard mode only needs 3. All of them down from 4, I believe. So they're going to be adjusting the tombstone rewards based on the difficulty, I'm assuming. And there's going to be bonuses granted to the group that actually spawns an enemy from fresh tracks. I don't know what that means. It just does a bonus. So I wonder what that bonus is. Hopefully it's something that makes it worth it because they said they were going to kind of give us direction and give us rules for the diadem, and I'm not really seeing much of that here yet. Maybe it's just something they didn't detail or something they didn't want to detail yet. But they're going to be making a lot of adjustments to the diadem over time. So you're definitely going to be in here more often because they are making it a little bit easier to obtain materia from the diadem. You're going to be able to get more with your spoils. So definitely you're going to want to do that with all the melding onto raid gear and whatnot. And they're also improving the filter for the spoil vendor so that way you don't trade items you have equipped. Thank God, because that was a problem. So glad they're adjusting that. And we're getting towards the end here. New recipes for crafters and gatherers. The raid type crafting gathering crafting gear is going to be stronger. The raid ready crafted gear. That's what I'm trying to say. And the materials aren't going to be as hard to obtain. They're still going to be expensive when they first come out. Obviously, that's the market, but they expect them to definitely drop in price pretty significantly. New high elegant crafted items. There's going to be craft materials coming from Second Coil, for example. So we'll have to go back and do that to get this. And there's other new recipes. And also a big note here: there are not new scripts. Red scripts will continue to be the top script for the time being. I got that one wrong. Sorry, Sly. New tomestones are called tomestones of lore or folklore. We're not exactly sure. It said lore on the screen. I'm going to take that at face value, but I believe he said they were. Marco was saying that it's probably going to end up being folklore. We'll see though what they end up doing. And then they're doing the usual. They're actually removing soldiery altogether. It's not going to display anymore. Law is not going to be obtainable anymore. SOs are going to be uncapped, and the new tomestones of lore are going to be the new capped tomestone that we're going to have to do every week. And law, of course, can be turned into esoterics. Nothing new there. Then a bunch of quality of life stuff, and it pretty much that's going to be what our wrap up is. I'll quickly explain what the final section was and some of the other announcements. I'll go over to the official forum, see if I missed anything also. So swords and shields are going to drop at the same time now, so you don't have to worry about getting a sword then waiting to get a shield or vice versa. Gatherers can still gather when participation windows appear. All roulettes are going to be possible to enter with a party except for the mentor roulette. That's a big one. Well, there was like 7 roulettes actually that they showed. I actually don't know off the top of my head how many roulettes we have right now before the mentor, but I feel like we have 8. I feel like frontline roulette maybe still not able to join as a party, but it said on the slide there's 7 roulettes now that you can join as a party, and that's going to be really good for a lot of people, especially for things like leveling roulette and whatnot. So I'm looking forward to that. The teleport history tab is going to be added, so if you've recently been teleporting to a lot of locations, you can just pull up the history tab and use those to quickly access your teleportation. There's going to be new features for the idle and group cameras, and there's also, now this was a big one and I mentioned it before, hotbar improvements. Recast animations are going to be improved, and you're going to finally be able to set to display recast times on the hotbar. Now it's not going to show over the bar, which is what I would have preferred. It's going to show it's going to show under the bar. So you're still going to, I feel like it's still a little bit out of sight, and I would have liked it to have appeared over the bar while it's counting down. But that's just my personal preference. At least it's there. It's a start. It can always be adjusted later. But that's a feature I've been waiting for a very long time, so I'm glad that it's finally coming. Furnishing with Aesthetician access, furnishing die preview feature, the ability to sell items directly from your retainer to like a vendor, as opposed to needing to constantly take them off and put them on. Good, because now I can clean out some retainers I was waiting not to do. Tomestone gear, they showed off more of that, and they showed off some new furnishings. After that, they went into a 10-minute break where they had tons of technical difficulties and blasted audio in our ears because they couldn't get it working for the Eorzean Collection 2016 W. Those are always fun to watch. You pretty much know the music for those if you've heard any of them. So I could have just imagined it, but they decided to blast it in our ears when it wouldn't work the first time. And then after that, they brought Koji Fox on, and it was a really good segment. But by that point, I was so tired. I was like, if there aren't going to be any announcements, I don't want to stick around. And if, you can always read it here. You can read the Q&A here on the main forums. Like they talked about the Al Ra. Hildebrand's returning in 3.2. There's one right there. Who brings him back home? Well, that's a surprise. There's questions about the lore of the anti-tower of the Lost City of Amdapor hard mode. The name of the patch, Gears of War. I'm sorry, Gears of War. What the... I'm sorry, I'm too tired. I've got Pags on the mind. Gears of Change actually has Benphilia as the lead artwork for it. It shows just a woman on the front, and he goes, by the way, that's Benphilia, and we're like, what the hell? Okay, now we understand what Gears of Change mean. Change is definitely a big thing. And then they asked them a bunch of other lore questions. I don't want to go too far into it unless there's something else I missed. There is one piece of information that we knew about prior to this that I had yet to really make a video. Oh, here are the roulettes. Main scenario, yeah, it's just everything except the frontline roulette and the mentor roulette, it looks like. So it's a good thing I guessed that because that's what I thought it was. Dungeons, yeah, see, he goes over the name, the Anti-Tower, goes over Lost City of Amdapor. Oh, he didn't bring any info to the Lost City of Amdapor. This guy right here. And then, just general questions. It was nice, but there was a lot of banter back and forth, and I didn't feel like staying up to listen to banter in Japanese I can't understand. The only thing is that for those of you who are looking forward to the Mac version of Final Fantasy XIV, they're resuming sales starting later this month. I believe it's on the 23rd, the same day as patch 3.2. So they halted it because it was just a letdown. It did not perform well. It just wasn't good, and it was a good thing that they halted it to perfect it. But it is coming back out. The OS version is coming back out. So if you're someone who's playing on a Mac, I mean, good luck. That's the best I can really say. Just wait a little bit longer, and you should be able to buy the game on Mac. And you can join us over in Eorzea, where we are very welcoming to you, even if you play on a Mac. Hey. So anyway, that's going to be a wrap-up for me. I'm going to include links to these in the description of the video, but I got to get going because, we got to get ready. It's it's almost 9 o'clock, so I definitely want to get out of here and get ready to go down to PAX South. I'm going to be streaming at 10 a.m. myself, so definitely want to get down there soon. Anyway, thank you everyone for watching. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you in the next video with more Final Fantasy XIV. It could be some other game. We'll see. I got Explorers coming up finally. Got my 3DS back, so we'll see. Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, take care. And this is the part where I awkwardly stay with you while I go to press the stop recording button. Hey.